John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on September the 24th in the year of our Lord 2025. Got a lot of good information for you. Let's go ahead and click here, Murtech on Rumble. Jump over here to my Rumble channel. And this is the video you're watching right now, episode 1695. Let's go ahead and click on that. We close out the live chat. Slide down here and click the Show More button to expand the description box. We have information from Chicks on the Right, Dr. Steve Turley, X22 Report, and Wendy Bell. But before we get into that, I do need to give some shout outs to Copper Diane, just started following my channel. John Mosley, 58, just started following my channel. Cincy H, just started following my channel. Trump Girl, just started following my channel. C. Becos, just started following my channel. Katie Vaughn, just started following my channel. Skier2248, just started following my channel. Freedom21X, just started following my channel. And Swimmer Texas, just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. All right, let's get down here. WBS reposted my episode 1694 from last night. Lynn Pell commented on my daily news update, or my daily news wrap-up from last night. Also, WBS commented on my episode 1694. Killface commented on my extra 479B. And Debbie BS also commented on my extra 479B. And Debbie BS also commented on my extra 479A. And I got, for some reason, Debbie BS commented on my extra 479B. There was a mix-up there. These are two different videos. One should have been C instead of B, but Debbie BS commented on all of those. So thank you very much, folks, for your comments. I really enjoy reading your feedback, and I certainly appreciate your support. So let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. There you go. And while I'm at it, I have one of those thumbs up icons right down here below the video that you're watching. If you could just slide down here and give me a thumbs up, that would definitely be great. I would appreciate that very, very much. Okay, let's get into this. Chicks on the Right. Yikes. Kamala's book tour is a total embarrassment. I don't doubt it. Let's see what she has to say, what they have to say.
Let's talk about Kamala for a moment, shall we? That's the reason for my name today. And of course, her book is out, I think, or maybe it's coming out today. I forget. Anyway, she wrote a book called 107 Days, in which she tries to make the case that 107 days just really wasn't enough time for America to get to know her. Like, just don't think about the fact that she was our vice president for 4 years, and that during that 107 days, she did everything she could to hide from America. So she doesn't get to now say, I only had 107 days. How was I supposed to get myself out in front of America? Bitch, you would not do a single interview, okay? Like, you don't get to say that. And yet that is what she is saying. Mm-hmm. That's one of many things that she's saying. Another thing that she's saying, which her own campaign person is now refuting, is that she was shocked, I say, to discover that she'd lost. And so in the book, her campaign manager, Jen O'Malley Dillon, broke the news to her saying, hey, FYI, you lost. And Kamala says she recalls being in shock, barely able to breathe. She repeated over and over, my God, what will happen to our country?
The entitlement, man.
Oh my God. Because as she writes, she says all the internal polling, her team was telling her she had this in the bag. This was a easy win. It was going to be a piece of cake. And now one of the people in her campaign is saying, I know for a fact that our campaign's internal analytics did not show us winning the week before the election or at any point, really. So that raises the question, who was lying to the VP and her team about our analytics?
Yeah, or maybe Harris is just lying. Maybe this book is just lying. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Maybe she's a total dumbass.
Right. I don't know. They all lie. And so I don't know who's lying about what at this point, but or they just have this notion that of course we're going to win because we're entitled to this. You know, it's kind of like she was entitled to that job. She had no business being in that position. You know, I mean, she was tapped. Let's just face it. She was tapped to put in that position. She didn't really earn that position. I mean, Democrats just pick and choose their people. The people don't choose those positions like we do, you know, and then they scream and they preach about democracy. You know how it is. And like, there was a whole thing that she talked to, I don't know if you have the clip or not, about Buttigieg, her picking Buttigieg.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We'll get to that.
I mean, it's like, they talk about like picking and choosing people. The people don't choose the people on their side. You know what I mean? And so when it comes to her being in that position, I think she felt like, oh, I'm supposed to be here because I've been tapped by whoever, you know, what the powers that be in that party. And that maybe she was like stunned that she didn't win because she felt like, you know, she had been crowned to be the next, you know, president of the United States. They're just so entitled and gross on that side of the aisle.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, when she's tapped, it's not even because of her competence. It's because you checked a box. You checked a black box. You checked a female box. Joe Biden said, that's what I want. You were just one of the people that fit the demographic. Congrats. But you're useless. And the more she interviews now about her book, I mean, the more we all realized how big of a bullet we dodged. I mean, she is an idiot. She just such an idiot.
Yeah.
And so
drunk. Also drunk.
And drunk. Also drunk. So a lot of people are pointing it out. Even members of her own party are like, this is not very good. Like, her book is not good. I don't know what she's trying to prove with this book. David Axelrod is one of those people saying about her book, if there's a political strategy here, it's a bad one. There's an awful lot of grievances and finger pointing that really doesn't serve a political agenda. And to your point, because, you know, she admitted in her book that her first choice as a VP would have been Pete Buttigieg, if not for the fact that he's gay. And so as Stu from Glenn Beck's Stu, he said, the only person I've ever heard admit that they didn't hire someone because they were gay is Kamala Harris.
Yeah, it's not interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about discrimination? Here you go.
There it is. And so she's like, let's see who would seem less gay. Tim Walz. Okay, let's go with him. That seems less gay, doesn't it? Okay.
That was a big fat fail.
Yeah.
Such a big fat fail. But Ana Navarro, for one, thinks that Pete might have just been exactly what the country needed, you guys. Here's what she said.
You know, the LGBTQ issue became such a big issue in that campaign that I wonder if having a Pete Buttigieg who could defend it and show a beautiful, loving LGBTQ family, him, his husband, his two children, wouldn't have been the counter that we needed. But
no,
it wouldn't have worked. It would not.
Nobody needed that.
But that's nice, Anna. You just keep pretending you're a Republican. You just keep doing that. Bless your heart.
You guys, really quickly, we need to tell you about keeping yourself safe.
Okay, they're going into commercial here, so I'm going to go ahead and move on because I've got some more great information here. Let me show you if this video does come from Chicks on the Right. I am subscribed to their channel. I've given them a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and move on to Dr. Steve Turley. Ilhan Omar caught in financial fraud. Let's see what that's all about.
Omar was back in February 2025. Omar was called out on social media for allegedly being worth tens of millions of dollars. And her response was to mock those claims and call her critics racist and bigots. And it was absolutely ridiculous to claim that she was a millionaire. She said she barely had thousands of dollars, let alone millions. And then she made her biggest mistake yet. She dared people to check her financial statements. According to an investigation by the Washington Free Beacon, Omar and her husband, Tim Minette, are now worth upwards of as much as $30 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Let me repeat that. Ilhan Omar, the socialist, the cultural Marxist, the Somali immigrant who thinks you should have less of your money while the government takes more, because after all, she herself barely has thousands. Yeah, that same Ilhan Omar who every day wakes up and thinks, how can I convince more people that America is an evil, unjust nation? That very same Ilhan Omar is reportedly worth upwards of $30 million. Omar was recently found to be connected to one of the largest pandemic fraud cases in American history. Over 70 people have thus far been arrested for stealing upwards of $250 million. I was supposed to feed hungry children during COVID, but instead lined the pockets of fraudsters. The scheme was run through an organization called Feeding Our Future. And at the center of it was a Minneapolis restaurant named Safari. And the restaurant basically served as a front for this money laundering operation. And guess who was caught on camera promoting this very same restaurant? That's right. None other than Ilhan Omar herself. In June of 2021, there's actual video of Omar at Safari restaurant supposedly helping to distribute meals to children. Now, Omar's office, of course, claims she had no involvement in the scandal whatsoever, but we now know that Omar's campaign received $5,400 from two individuals who were later implicated in the fraud investigation. So when this came to light, her campaign quietly donated the money to local food shelves, but it got worse. Omar was actually the sponsor of the Meals Act in 2020, which expanded federal food aid during the pandemic. And this is precisely the very legislation that created the opportunities that fraudsters exploited to steal hundreds of millions of dollars, some of which did end up into her campaign coffers.
All right. Very amazing, folks. And, you know, that's why Chuck Schumer wants to add over $1 trillion to this spending package, because their coffers are drying up. After Doge got in there and some of this stuff is being uncovered, the Democrats are running out of scam money. Isn't that amazing? Everything that the Democrats talk about, they want to support, it's only because they can skim money off of the top, okay, and make themselves wealthy, while they are so die hard for helping the poor, while they make themselves wealthy, okay? All right, let's slide down here and show that this does come from Turley Clips. This is a new channel that he started on YouTube. It's short little snippets like this with great information in them. That's why I'm sharing this. I am subscribed to his channel, and I gave him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here because I got a couple of long shares that I want to have here from X22 report and Wendy Bell. But let's go ahead and jump into this X22 report. And this is something that has, bugged me for about 5 years, going on 6 years, this big pharma stuff. In fact, I've never been a fan of big pharma. And oddly enough, coincidentally enough, ironically enough, I am a retiree from a big pharma company. But yeah, I've worked there, and I retired early because I just didn't like some of the things that some of the things that were going on. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into this X22 report, episode 3737B. Big Pharma in the crosshairs. Antifa are terrorists. Yes, Trump is bringing down the New World Order. Thank goodness. Let's see what that's all about.
Just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters. Trump, he was speaking at the UN today, and he pretty much let the UN and the entire deep state system, I'm bringing you down. I'm bringing the whole damn thing down. I'm bringing the New World Order that you have been pushing right down into the ground, and nothing is going to stop this. Nothing. And I'll be doing everything opposite of what you're doing right now. You're bringing a lot of illegals into the country. I will be deporting the illegals. You'll be going with the Green New Scam. I will be removing the Green New Scam. You'll be pushing the central bank, the fiat currency. I will be removing the fiat currency, the central bank system. And what the people are going to see in this world is that what I am doing benefits the people of the country, and what you are doing hurts the people of the country. And I do believe that was pretty much his message to all the deep state players. And you could see that they tried to embarrass him in a way or send a message to him, because when he decided to get on the escalator, that didn't work. The teleprompter didn't work. And the microphone didn't have the same sound that it had with other people. I think they were trying to tell him that, hey, listen, we're in control here, but they are not. They are no way in control. Trump has all the leverage, and he'll be bringing down the entire system around their heads. And he's already begun to do this. I mean, really think about it. He's creating a parallel economic system. He's competing against the Federal Reserve. That's what the tariff system's all about. It's about removing the transfer of wealth to the elites, to other countries, to other people. And basically, he's going to allow the people of this country keep their wealth. There'll be no more internal revenue service. It will be an external revenue service. So once again, as he shuts down the central bank system, the deep state, they're going to lose all their funding. And the people, their buying power, it's all going to come back to them. And that's not all. He is now putting Big Pharma in the crosshairs. Remember, he starts out slowly. He doesn't come out and say, hey, by the way, all vaccines are bad. We got to get rid of them. No, he starts off very, very slowly. So people in this country can digest it. Tylenol is bad. Acetaminophen actually causes autism. You shouldn't be taking it while you're pregnant. And he allows the big pharma companies, the fake news, the deep state players to go and push back against it. And they will. They'll push back. They'll argue. And eventually what will happen is more information will come out. And it will prove that they are wrong. And people will digest it. People will say, you know something? I get it. I'm not going to take Tylenol when I'm pregnant. I might not even take Tylenol anymore. People can wrap their brains around it. It's very, very easy. If you have it in your house, you just throw it out. No big deal. And once again, he starts this off very, very slowly. Will this lead up to vaccines? Will it lead up to all the other drugs? Will it lead to the area of, hey, the big pharma has been hiding the cures for many, many diseases? Absolutely. And you can see the process of bringing down big pharma has already begun. Now, big pharma, they just were sent a message. Trump is letting them know this is the direction that we're heading in. What would you like to do? It's your move. You can either fight against it, or you can start to release certain information to let the people know that, yes, there are cures out there. You can release information letting them know that, yes, these drugs are dangerous. It's up to you. And let's see which way Big Pharma goes. Trump has also designated Antifa as a terrorist organization. Now we need the State Department to basically designate them as a foreign terrorist organization. But again, one step at a time. And all this is about is bringing down the entire New World Order, the entire system that they were trying to create. That is what this is all about. And you can see that Trump, every step of the way, he is basically chipping away at their system. And there's pretty much nothing they can do except one thing. And you could see Trump is actually bringing them down this path, because a reporter asked him, if there's a drone or a plane flying into a country, what should that country do? He says, shoot it down. Now, he knows perfectly well that the deep state players, the EU, NATO, they're pushing fear. They want war. He knows that these are not Russian drones. These are not Russian planes. And basically, he's just leading them down this path. He also says, listen, I think we can actually beat Russia. I think we can get all the land back. So basically, he's having the deep state, the EU go down this path. And I do believe he's pushing them down this path for the scare event. He's getting them all on board for war. The fake news is going to be chanting war. The rhinos, they're going to be chanting war. They're going to say, yes, war. And then he's going to turn around and say, no, peace. That's what we want. He's going to use all of this against them. And they're falling right into that trap. We'll be discussing a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, let's begin with Jimmy Kimmel. Because once again, we could see he's back in the headlines. ABC dropped him. That is because the affiliate stations, they decided they were not going to run it. And ABC basically went along with it. And they said they had a discussion with Kimmel. And they said, listen, we're going to be bringing him back. Now, of course, this is not going to work out too well for them. And American First Legal put this out, and they said the following. The left and their mainstream media allies claim Jimmy Kimmel's suspension meant the First Amendment is gone. That's false. The facts tell a different story and expose their hypocrisy. Here's why. Even Disney said that Kimmel's suspension wasn't censorship. It was a programming decision. Nexstar's decision to pull Kimmel's show off the air had nothing to do with the First Amendment. Yet the left is crying censorship. Perhaps it's because they are so used to censoring conservatives through direct federal intervention as well as leaning on the private sector to do their dirty work. They established the Disinformation Governance Board at DHS to moderate Americans' First Amendment speech. They partner with censorship experts in the UK, a free speech graveyard, and conspired to deplatform the future Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert Kennedy Jr. They used the FBI to surveil brave parents, targeting them for speaking up for their children. They silenced the President of the United States. They said conservatives were a national security threat. They labeled Trump supporters a threat. They focused on white supremacy and anti-government militia groups while ignoring regular criminal activity committed by members of BLM and Antifa. They suppressed the truth. They opened our borders and let criminals run free in America. Communities and Americans died. They indicted a president and fought to keep him off of ballots while canceling their own party's primary and switching out their sleepy candidate for the party's preferred selection. They oppose truth, justice, and the American way of life at every opportunity, but insist they have the moral high ground. The people calling Kimmel's suspension censorship are the same ones who targeted conservatives and the political opponents, and whose media allies defended, justified, and stayed silent about real government censorship. Yes. They should sit this one out. Absolutely. And once again, you could see that the affiliate stations like Nexstar and Sinclair, they are not going to air Kimmel's show whatsoever. They're saying they're keeping it off the air, and they'll replace it with other news shows. Now, I do believe ABC basically bowed down to the left, and they went ahead and say, okay, Kimmel's back on. This way, they can use the excuse that, hey, wait, the affiliates aren't broadcasting it. Maybe we can't keep Kimmel, because remember, Kimmel is costing them a lot of money every single day.
Yes,
he has no ratings. They're plummeting. But again, what conservatives are going to say is that, wait a minute, you're allowing him back on the air. You know what? We're not going to be watching ABC. We're not going to be going to Disney. Actually, we're already not doing this, but it's just going to get a lot worse for them in the end. And what's very interesting is since Sinclair and Nexstar decided not to do this, they're saying that this is in the public interest. Because again, the FCC responsibility remains with the FCC licensees, not the programming producer. Think about that for a second. And this is why they're not allowing this. And you can see since Sinclair and Nexstar are not airing this, we can see there are certain D's out there. They're actually saying the quiet part out loud. Senator Scott Wiener said, "Can't wait to break Sinclair up. Corporate media consolidation doesn't jibe with democracy. And although Sinclair isn't a fan of democracy, most people are." Brendan Carr responded to this and said, "And there it is. On Kimmel, the Democrats are engaged in nothing more than projection and distortion. Projection because Democrats are the ones that spent years illegally weaponizing government to silence dissent. And it is Democrats that will do it all again, as they are openly telling you today. Distortions because Democrats want to blame anything other than Disney and their local TV stations for Kimmel's suspension. Those businesses decided that, in their view, a suspension made sense. The reporting on this is clear. Notably, this is the first time recently that any local TV station have pushed back on national programmer like Disney. And that is a good thing, because we want empowered local TV stations. After all, local TV stations, not the national programmers, have public interest obligations, and they should be making decisions that, in their view, meets the needs of their local communities. I walked through all of this in my Concordia remarks yesterday, which are posted below. So once again, you could see that the deep state players, the Ds, the fake news, they're losing the high ground here, and people aren't buying what they're selling. And remember, the same Democrats who spent the past 4 years demanding restrictions on free speech are suddenly screaming about protecting free speech. And there you have it.
Yep.
So is this a win for the Ds, or is it actually a win for MAGA? Nolte explains. Where's the win for the left here? What's the upside for Democrats? How does the Disney grooming syndicate come out ahead? Sure, it's a temporary sugar high for some. Yay, we bullied Disney into what exactly? I'll tell you what. Kimmel is a total rating loser for Disney ABC. Over at CBS, Stephen Colbert attracts twice the number of viewers as Kimmel. And CBS not only canceled Colbert, CBS says it has lost around $50 million a year on Colbert. Imagine what ABC is losing on Kimmel, who is reportedly paid $16 to $20 million per year. Then there's the best part.
Again, this is another reason why Schumer and the Democrats want to add $1 trillion spending so they can pass it out to these NGOs to support assholes like this that just tell lie after lie after lie.
The political fallout. Disney's decision to end Kimmel's suspension, though, sends only one message to normal people. We at Disney hate you. We hold you in contempt. We hold everything you believe in contempt. We have no respect for the truth, and therefore no respect for you. And to prove this, we are willing to keep a proven liar and ratings failure on the air, even though reruns of Celebrity Family Feud in the same time slots are cheaper to produce and make us more money. Yes, you see, just like CNN, the New York Times, NPR, etc., Disney has painted itself into a corner where it can't win. Disney has only one choice: continue to pour hate on normal people or lose what's left of its customer base, the far left. Disney so alienated us with its decade-long campaign to groom our children and warp our beloved movie and TV icons that all Disney has left are the far left customers. And those far left customers are now the tail that wags the rabid dog. And in the end, they're going to lose, and lose big time. It's going to completely and utterly fall apart. Just like when they tried to entrap Tom Homan. That whole thing completely and utterly fell apart. And think about it. Tom Homan right now has deported over 2 million illegals in this country. He's been finding the missing children. Actually, Michelle Maxwell put this out, saying that Tom Homan says that the Trump administration has located a whopping 25,000 missing migrant children from the Biden years. They're already located just under 25,000 of over 300,000. Some of these children were found with parents just hiding because they don't want to be deported. But many were in sex trafficking. Many we found in forced labor, slavery. We're not giving up. This is the main priority of the Trump administration. We're going to keep going at it. And think about what they're afraid of. They're afraid of what people are going to learn about these missing children. Mm-hmm. Sex slaves, labor camps. Think about that for a second. Lisa May responded to this and said, this is why they tried to use their old wrap-up smear playbook on him. Taking bribes, which was an attempted Fed entrapment scheme. He's interfering with their evil, highly profitable industry exploiting these children. These people are demonic. These are the types of people our POTUS is fighting against. So spare us the pearl clutching over his inability to forgive his enemies. Absolutely. And you could see this is what they were planning and this is what they were waiting for. And think about it. If they were able to keep this under wraps and spring this on Tom Homan, what else have they planted? What else are they waiting to use? Now, is it going to work in the future? Well, I don't think it's going to, because the people are awake. The people see what's going on, and the fake news, they're no longer in charge. And the D's, and the deep state players, they do not control the narrative whatsoever. And you can see California, they're moving forward with their supposed alleged law that says the ICE agents can't wear masks. But DHS says ICE is not going to comply with California ban on its agents wearing masks.
I do not think that states can dictate what federal law enforcement can wear. I mean, if that's the case, they can say, well, federal law enforcement cannot wear bulletproof vests. Federal law enforcement cannot have helmets. Federal law enforcement are not allowed to have handguns. What the frick is that? How can a state dictate what federal law enforcement can or cannot wear?
Homeland Security put this out and said this was just something they could use to posture and attack our ICE law enforcement officers. That's what is so irresponsible about it, Kristi Noem says. At a time that ICE law enforcement faces a 1,000% increase in assaults and their family members are being doxxed and targeted, the sitting governor of California signed unconstitutional legislation that strips law enforcement of protections in a disgusting, diabolical fundraising and PR stunt. And that is absolutely true. And Trump, he's letting everyone know, and actually in front of the UN, he is telling all of the deep state players that, listen, you are responsible for bringing in the illegals into the United States. You've been funding them, and you've been funding this around the world. And basically, he's calling them out on all of this. Greg Price put this out and said, President Trump just called out the UN for funding the invasion of America's southern border. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support migrants journeying into the United States. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands could be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety nets. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people. So the UN was involved in this because you have to remember the UN is part of the New World Order. It's part of the deep state system. And basically, Trump is now calling them out on it. And actually, he's funding the UN, which we'll be talking about in just a sec. But look what else Trump said. He's calling the UN out on the trafficking of children. Rapid Response 47 put this out and said, and this is what Trump said, any system that results in the mass trafficking of children is inherently evil. Yet, that is exactly what the globalist migration agenda has done. In America, those days are over. The Trump admin is working to track down the villains that are causing the problem, letting the UN, letting the deep state players know that, listen, you're being mapped right now. And we're going to show the people who you are, who are trafficking the children, sending them to sex slave camps, sending them to slave labor camps.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there, but that's great information. I'm like 21 minutes into this hour and 2-minute video. And he's right. He's absolutely right. Trump is calling them out on this. I mean, he called them out to their face at the UN. A lot of countries in the world were there. You know, he told them where they stand, which is below the gutter. All right, I'm going to move on here, but before I do, there is something here that I want to share with you. I've shared this before, but this was something back. Bob Hope made a movie back in the 40s, and this is how he felt back in the 40s.
You live here? Yes. Well, maybe you know what a zombie is. When a person dies and is buried, it seems to certain voodoo priests who have the power to bring him back to life.
Horrible.
It's worse than horrible because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring. You mean like Democrats?
You mean like Democrats? All right, that was made back in the 40s. So even then, the Democrats were like blinded sheep, just following the call. All right, let's jump down here to Wendy Bell Radio. The left lies about everything. Yeah, they do. Let's see what she has to say about this.
Well, welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. You know, I really don't care about what Jimmy Kimmel says. I don't care what Jimmy Kimmel thinks. I find it very interesting that now there are Democratic lawmakers who are launching an investigation into Nexstar and Sinclair. How dare you not bring Jimmy Kimmel back onto your channels? That kind of sounds like government harassment. Kind of feels weaponized, doesn't it? Aren't these the people saying that that's what the FCC, Brendan Carr, and President Trump did? We don't like what Jimmy Kimmel says, so we don't want him on the air. That wasn't it. Dude's been losing money hand over fist for a decade, or not even a decade, but for a long time, right? Actually, it is a decade. Well, this is huge. Nexstar joined Sinclair last night. I was gleeful when I saw this. I just like seeing companies stand up for what they believe in. You know, however that shakes out, if you believe in something and you're willing to put your reputation on that, and I know Perry Sook, the guy who's in charge over at Nexstar. This is not some, octogenarian sleepwalker Joe Biden weekend at Bernie's. This is a very strong, smart businessman who knows television. And he knows it a lot because he offered me a job at WGN many years ago. Anyway, I just thought I would put that out there. Nexstar joins Sinclair in pulling Jimmy Kimmel off air tonight after he lies about Charlie Kirk's assassination. This is what they said. Look, we made a decision last week to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live following what ABC referred to as Mr. Kimmel's ill-timed and insensitive comments at a critical time in our national discourse. It's like if they had, bad timing isn't even it. There's like no ability to read the room. There's no self-awareness. There's no ability for people on the left to put a muzzle on it and be like, well, maybe we ought to let this sit for a little while before we come out guns blazing. No, they don't know how to do that. So we stand by that decision. This is Nexstar. We stand by that decision pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the markets we serve. In the meantime, we note that Jimmy Kimmel Live will be available nationwide on multiple Disney-owned streaming products, while our stations will focus on continuing to produce local news and other programming relevant to their respective markets. Basically, this move keeps Jimmy Kimmel's lies, if you will, out of more than 100 million American households. I think that's pretty significant. I think that's huge. So let's go to NBC News now for the little weaponizey feel this morning. Can we all just agree that it's okay for a business to make a decision? For a business like Disney to say, you know what, you've been losing so much money. And you've said some really horrible things, and our company's in the crosshairs. Conservatives hate us because we suck. Democrats hate us now because we suck, and we can't risk it with you anymore. We cannot afford to lose any more money off of Jimmy Kimmel. Shouldn't you be able to, as a business, say that? Well, yes, unless you've ever taken a knee to the left before, because they think they own you. That is the whole bribery, blackmail, scheme. That is the Capitol. That is the Beltway. And so now you've got Democratic lawmakers demanding answers from TV station owners that pulled Jimmy Kimmel's show. Who are you? You know what we demand? Elizabeth Warren, we demand that you do your job and stop being such a liar. We demand, Chris Van Hollen, that you maybe stop wasting taxpayer money and fly over to El Salvador to throw yourself at the feet of an illegal alien criminal gangbanging wife beater human trafficker. Like, is that too much? See, that's what we the people want. 4 Democratic lawmakers opening a probe into Nexstar and Sinclair. two major TV station owners refusing to air Jimmy Kimmel's late night talk show amid criticism of his on-air comments about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. In a letter first obtained by NBC News, the lawmakers asked the corporate heads of both companies for more information about their decisions to preempt airings of ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live and how those decisions, quote, may relate to regulatory issues pending with the Trump administration. So the whole story here is that both Sinclair and Nexstar have deals to merge, acquire, grow, change in some capacity, and they need some kind of a regulatory okay by the Trump administration. And so the allegation by these lawmakers is that these two companies are doing this quietly, silencing Jimmy Kimmel, not very quietly, so that they stay in Trump's good graces. Really? Is that how you guys feel it is? If you suspend a late night comedian's show in part to seek regulatory favors from the administration, you've not only assisted the administration in eroding First Amendment freedoms, but also create the appearance of a possible quid pro quo. You know, I'm not so sure we should be talking about quid pro quo because the left is going to lose. They're going to suck wind on that every single day. We'll talk about China and Russia and Kazakhstan and Ukraine and the Biden crime family syndicate. I mean, if we want to talk about quid pro quo and all, well, son of a bee. They fired the prosecutor. I mean, come on. So here are the people you need to know. Senators Elizabeth Warren, Ron Wyden, Ed Markey, and Chris Van Hollen, addressing a letter to Perry Sook, chairman of Nexstar Media Group, and Christopher Ripley, president of Sinclair Broadcast Group. Good luck with that, senators. Good luck. See, everybody out here, not only don't we care about Jimmy Kimmel, we don't care about you. But your desperation is very interesting to us. Speaking of censorship, let's talk about the Biden administration, shall we? Oh my gosh, Google said it did censor conservatives because the Biden administration told it to? Stop. Next.
Okay, let's get this up past her commercial break here. She is on a radio program here, so they're at the bottom of the hour, so they're doing the weather report and the news and traffic report. So let's
5557 start.
No argument. No about. No,
Come
it's
on.
it's the collection agency who sent me a thing for a collection that.
If you haven't seen this before,
never had one.
Well, welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. So about an hour before the show, I started scribbling. I did a Google search. I said, name the top news events of the last decade. And the AI function on Google gave me these options, which I thought were great. The Supreme Court legalizing same-sex marriage, 2015. Okay. I was behind that. I don't care. If you love someone, I don't really think it matters. I know people who are very religious or otherwise are against that. I'm not. That's fine. Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, right? Think about all of the lies that you were told about that. Think about all of the lies that you have been told about George Floyd, about who he was, how he died, about Derek Chauvin, about his autopsy. Was his knee on his neck? I can't breathe. Not about he was a criminal, he was high on drugs, he was geeked out of his mind. The million bad decisions he'd made, all of the things that he did as a criminal, they elevated this guy to be the next thing. Interesting. Black Lives Matter, right? That came out of George Floyd. Give, $100 million. All of these companies, Target, Levi's, right? Pharma companies, Home Depot, like all of these companies, hand over fist. Just don't come riot at our stores. It literally was a bribe. It's a communist front, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter has done nothing for Black people except given a very select few opportunity to buy multiple homes in multiple cities. Other than that, you got scammed. Okay. Everything Joe Biden, everything they told us about Joe Biden, everything about the election, everything about his wellness, everything about who he was, what he did, what his objective was, if he was ever in charge, the border, inflation, it's transitory. Well, it depends on what your definition of a vaccine. I mean, all of this stuff, all garbage, lied to you about that. Everything about COVID, everything about vaccines, everything about mandates. They lied to you about all of that. right? They made it up. Fauci made it up. Deborah Birx giggling about it. We made that up. The social distancing thing, it seemed logical, right? I want to throat punch that woman and throw her down the stairs. And I feel bad about saying that. And let's think about what? The Capitol attack. January 6th. 4 cops died that day. No, they didn't. It wasn't an insurrection. They didn't come with weapons. There were no weapons, right? It was a setup. Everybody knows it. We watched the video. It was a cover-up for a stolen election. We know that. How about Me Too? Believe all women. Out of the Harvey Weinstein thing, believe all women. Wow, how does that work for us? Can you believe anything more frightening than believing all women? Trust. I am a woman, and that scares the hell out of me, okay? So all of these things, just a stab in the dark here about some of the big stories of the last 10 years. Every single thing they told you has been total garbage. If the Democrats would just say, look, we have no good people. We can't really raise money because we suck, and so we have to steal it, and then all these shenanigans, Act Blue, and all this other stuff. We're not interested in doing anything good for the country. In fact, our goal is to destroy the greatest place, this a beautiful experiment, this constitutional republic, this thing that we've got, this magic. Yeah, we want to destroy it because we want to be in charge, and so therefore we're going to lie to you endlessly. Unleash a virus on you. We're going to steal an election, cause a bunch of riots, create some wars in some places to kind of throw you off your game, ship money all over the world, which ends up coming back right to us, right? That's our game plan. Well, at least you know. But if you know, you know. And in order for them to pull all this jazz off, you can't talk. You can't express yourself freely. You can't ask questions. Remember during COVID, you weren't allowed to go to church. You weren't allowed to go get your hair cut. You weren't allowed to go to a cafe. You weren't allowed to go to a salon. You weren't allowed to go to the barbershop. You weren't allowed to go to places where people normally chat.
Yep.
Now, you weren't allowed to say stuff online. It's misinformation. We need to shut it down. So this breaking news that isn't, which is totally ridiculous, right? We want to talk about the dumbest breaking news ever, but good on Jim Jordan. Good on the congressman from Ohio. Good on House Judiciary. Good on doing something other than Chris Van Hollen flying over to El Salvador to weep at the feet of a criminal illegal alien. You ready? Here's your headline. Google admits censorship under Biden. Get out of town. What? Really? That is super odd. I wasn't expecting that. Promises to end bans of YouTube accounts of thousands of Americans censored for political speech. Brock, are you one of them? Are you one of those people who were censored?
I was.
You were. You were shut down.
Because I know you.
Yes. So I got cut out of YouTube and Twitch after it was alleged, of course, erroneously, that I was encouraging people to drink bleach. Because, it sounds like exactly something I would say. You know what I would do during COVID, guys? It makes perfect sense. Drink, or even better yet, just inject bleach, because that makes sense. Well, I was banned, permanently banned. Brock was like, wait, what? So he went on YouTube to try to set up his own account, and he got banned. He didn't even do anything, right? This is my show, my voice, my name, my responsibility. Collateral damage, Brock. In addition to who else? Steven Crowder, Roseanne Barr, Mike Lindell, Sebastian Gorka, Steve Bannon, right? Dan Bongino. Now all of a sudden, because Jim Jordan was like, yo, Google, Alphabet Agency, whatever the hell you people are. Alphabet, we want Google, YouTube, we want all of your memos, all of your emails. All of those messages that you sent during COVID to the White House, to Joe Biden's White House, where there's possibly evidence of you guys working together, colluding, weaponizing against conservatives and people who just wanted to talk. So they shut us down. They took away our accounts. They silenced our voices, and they were gleeful. And Jimmy Kimmel was gleeful. These people were joyful. Hillary Clinton, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right? Tim Walz. These people were gleeful that we were silenced. So Jimmy Kimmel gets bounced for a couple days because he says things that are extraordinarily offensive, ill-timed, and off-putting. And they're lies at face value. He gets bounced for a couple days. The left goes absolutely haywire, right? But these are the same people who celebrated when you and I got canceled, silenced, deplatformed, demonetized, and demonized. Well, we can't have fake news.
Right.
Conspiracy theories. Misinformation going out during a global pandemic. Well, who gets to decide what is and is not the truth? Because I don't trust the government. Pretty much ever. So who gets to be the arbiter of that truth? Not you.
Nope.
Not me. That's a fact. So Google says, you know what? Oops, we're sorry. We censored you. We censored a lot of people, but we were super afraid that the Biden administration was going to come down on us. And so we cowered. We did the anti-Sinclair Nexstar. We didn't stand up for what we believe in because we're lefties too. And if we're not lefties, we're super squishy amoebas with no spine. We were worried that the Biden administration was going to come down on us. And so we decided that we had to shut people down. Sorry, but come on back. Come on back. Really? Who the hell would ever go back? RFK Jr. among them, right? What was he spreading that was misinformation? He asked a simple question. Hey, Dr. Fauci, tell us what's in the vaccine. Tell us how you tested it. Tell us about your placebos, because you had to do some of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the animal trials. What kind of animals did you test it in? What did you find out? See, that was dangerous.
Yes.
You know why? Because the animals got wrecked. There were no placebo trials. They just needed you to go out and get it. So now, and this is great, I love Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon has been dragged through the mud. He gets a call from one of the news outlets yesterday, and they're like, hey, Google admits that it shuts you down because the Biden administration pressured it to. Do you guys realize how huge that is? That's weaponizing. That's a government weaponizing against you. That's your First Amendment freedom to speak, to find information. That's them trampling all over you and colluding with big tech to make it happen. So they go to Steve Bannon and they're like, well, what do you think? Are you going to go back to YouTube? And Steve Bannon, without missing a beat, they can go F themselves. We've created other alternatives. Our goal isn't to come back. It's to destroy you. 100%. 100%. Who would ever go back? So I was struck without any evidence that I ever told anybody to do anything regarding bleach or otherwise. I was dangerous because we were asking questions. Because I was using my time stuck at my house when everybody was quarantined, hunting and pecking through the CDC website. Brock and I did it for hours every day. And we monitored how they started hiding data.
Yeah.
And so we started posting about it. Why are you doing this, CDC? Why won't you just come out and tell everybody the truth about how many children, healthy children in this country have actually died from COVID? Because we know what the number is. Because we went and spent hours pouring through the data that they moved around through like 6 different hyperlinks that you had to spend hours to find, only to find out of all these people who allegedly died because of COVID. They were sick. Children who died because of it, if you believe that, had outrageous illnesses. They were weak. They had problems with their immune system. Many were obese. Many were diabetic. Some had cancer. Some were already in the hospital. The number of children we found out, ultimately, during the height of the pandemic, when you were being lied to and told to stay home and to stay calm and to stay safe. It was less than 100 kids, less than 100, fewer than 100 children, healthy children. And yet your media and everybody on, you know, all these apps and whatnot were like, oh my God, you've got to get vaccinated. Your kid is a vector of disease. You got grandparents staying at home. Oh my gosh, you got to get the kids vaccinated. What they didn't tell you, of course, is that they knew damn well the vaccine that they were encouraging women to take, especially those who were pregnant, that their clinical trials in 44 rats led all of the pregnant rats to lose their babies. Now, is the battle in this country between left and right, or is it between good and evil? Is it between Satan and God? I don't know. I'm feeling yes. I'm feeling like that's exactly what it is. And Google coming out and being like, oh, sorry, yeah, we did that. But come on back, because, you know, you guys make a lot of money and you get a lot of great people on your shows, your podcasts, and we could use that revenue because people don't like us anymore. Huh. Kind of like Disney. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, let's flash back to 2022 when YouTube banned Dan Bongino, right? Guys, we've all built better mousetraps. They can suck it. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Okay, I want to share this with you. Get up there.
These half of it is when Brock discussion freaking bots come. I'm like microgel. There's not one. Okay, I just
did not get that.
Time more. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. So we told you several years ago about an initiative that the World Health Organization had taken on in 2021, I think. I could be wrong. It could have been at the end of 2020. But in conjunction with the CDC, our American Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This was during Rochelle Walensky, that piece of work, right? Who lied to us about everything. But you should trust the science. Got it. So they did this remarkable 1 million person campaign where they went Uttar Pradesh, India, a very populated area in India. And they went door knocking. It's a fascinating thought. Door knocking, and they gave everybody in this community, pretty extensive, a kit. And the kit had a temperature thing. You could gauge your temperature. It had probably Tylenol. It had a Z-Pack. And it had ivermectin. It had mask, gloves, hand sanitizer, what have you. And so with the CDC, in India, I mean, God forbid they were doing this here in America. Screw you, we're going to do India first. Door knocking all across, like literally thousands upon thousands of doors. And they said, hey, they tested everybody inside. Do you have the virus? You don't. Okay. If you do, start taking this ivermectin. Stay away from everybody in your home. Do this, do that, bada bing. Now, they didn't tell you what was in this kit that they were dropping off because it had ivermectin in it. Uttar Pradesh had like a 99.7% survival rate during COVID. In India, thanks to the CDC, the World Health Organization, and ivermectin. And they try to keep it super hush-hush because they didn't want everybody to know about it. Why wouldn't they want you to know about ivermectin? Because if you knew that ivermectin was the horse paste, was a possible solution, an avenue of protection to make you feel less god-awful. And my God, COVID was awful. I'm probably getting over it again, right? Then they couldn't have pushed the jab. The jab wouldn't have fallen under emergency use authorization, so they lied to you.
Yep.
I want you to hear Dan Bongino 2022 when he got sacked. Jesse Waters had him on. He got sacked from YouTube. I think this is very interesting. Listen.
Tell me about the YouTube situation. Now you are banned from YouTube. Listen, if I ran YouTube, I would ban you too, Bongino. I would do the same thing. I'm sympathetic.
You're wondering why they waited so long.
Right? I know. I've been telling them.
I would have been there.
I've been telling them to ban you for years. So what the heck happened here?
So, YouTube, it's run by communists, of course, and they're terrified of me because I'm an investor in another platform, Rumble, which actually believes in free speech. So they hate my guts. So they've been looking for a reason to get rid of me. So, Jesse, I dared question the efficacy of masks on their platform. So they went back to episodes I had done years ago, recategorized them, restricted them, suspended me, and then I went back and put a video on why I was leaving YouTube, and they banned me for a video why I'm leaving. It's one of those, you can't quit, we're going to fire you moments. The video was literally titled, Why I'm Leaving YouTube. And it's just because I question masks. And I ask a simple question. You ever see Moneyball? Great movie, Brad Pitt. If he's a good hitter, why doesn't he hit good? I asked with masks, a very simple question. If masks work, why aren't masks working? Right. You can't say that on YouTube. The commies on YouTube don't like it. They hate when you ask common sense questions like, if masks work, why aren't they working? God forbid you. We're like in Cuba. Kim Jong-un is laughing right now. He's like this, Jesse. He's got his pen. He's like, YouTube. Man, that's a good idea. I should try. I'll create my own just so I can ban people. YouTube's a disgrace.
So the difference is, Dan, the CDC is allowed to say masks don't work, but Dan Bongino's not allowed to see it. Don't you get it? I mean, that's the double standard. All right, Dan, thanks.
No, one standard.
Right,
you
one
all
standard.
Suck, we'll do what we want, right?
Exactly.
You all suck and we'll do what we want. There you go. So for every sniveling leftist and every person out there who's chirping out the talking points of people they pay attention to, whether it be Jimmy Kimmel or it be the cackling broads on The View, or it's any of your evening news people, God knows who still watches that. Or if it's 60 Minutes, if you're one of the 4 people still watching that, do know we all mock you. And it's not even behind your back anymore.
Okay, she's getting ready to go on another break here, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Let me click the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell. I am following her channel. I'm giving her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me, folks. Okay, let's jump back here. And let me remind you that these videos that I'm sharing with you come directly from the producers that created them, okay? I'm just sharing this information out to give you some news that you're not going to hear on the mainstream media or from the deep state swamp. You're not going to hear anything that we've talked about or that was talked about tonight from the legacy media or the Democrats. Because, okay, up here in the chat, I chat a little bit back and forth as it goes on. Deb Brandt, just as Wendy Bell was talking, she said, I know one of the doctors in India responsible for the investigating the Z-Pack. She knew COVID-19 was just a normal flu that wouldn't kill you. Now, the normal flu, for some people, they don't survive. So, but if you're, normally healthy, in pretty good shape, the flu won't kill you. Yeah, you feel like crap for a couple of days, maybe longer for some people, depending on their condition. But, I've heard that numerous times as well. So give me your comments too in the chat, although I'm about ready to wrap this up, or in the comments below, right down here in the comment section. Okay, just write me a comment and let me know what you think. They've been lying to us, actually, for decades, multiple decades. Okay, I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Dwight D. Eisenhower, in 1961, in his farewell address to the United States, warned us about the military-industrial complex. The deep state. He was elected in 52, president from 53 to 61. So that's what, over 70 years? And it probably took place when Truman created the CIA. Okay? So that's been 80 years. All right. Again, I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out, but I do get the satisfaction of putting this out and hoping that you will share it with others so that people can know the truth. I do want to give you a quick Rumble read here from GK Publishing. Let's see what they have to say.
If you're hungry for truth in a world of noise, check out the books coming out of the GK Publishing over at gatekeepersonline.com. This is a bold lineup of authors who refuse to bend the knee to cancel culture or compromise on truth.
We're talking books like Church and State, How the Left Used the Church to Conquer America, featuring Pastor Greg Locke, Denise McAllister, and Dr. Michael Brown. Social Injustice, Exposing the False Gospel of the Social Justice Movement, with contributions from Jeff Dornick, Brannon House, Dr. Andy Woods, and others, and 5 Steps to Kill a Nation by Pastor Sam Jones.
They've even got Dr. Robert Lopez Cancel-Proof Christianity on pre-order right now, as well as Jeff Dornick's upcoming book Following the Leader, which exposes the cult-like loyalty people are placing in political figures.
These are voices you won't hear on mainstream platforms. These books challenge, equip, and inform from a biblical and constitutional foundation.
So head over to gatekeepersonline.com right now and grab one or all of them. Support real publishing and fuel your mind with the truth. Get free shipping when you use code RUMBLE at gatekeepersonline.com.
Alrighty then. Let me copy these chats into a comment so that, here, I'll show you how to do a comment. So easy. Come down here and put some information in this where it says add comment in this little box here. Those are all the live chats. And then you click this green button and watch. It's like magic. Watch. Whoa. Did you see how it kind of green and then faded away? Oh, man. That makes you feel so good down deep inside. All right, I want to do a quick refresh here. Then faded away. I'll pause that. And, okay, I've got 137 people watching right now. And I've got 4 thumbs up. So, if I could get like 133 of you to slide down and, just poke that thumbs up button, that would be fantastic. I would greatly appreciate that. Okay, over here on Murtech.com. Hello, there we go. On Murtech.com, these videos that I shared with you are videos that I post on Murtech.com, and the link to Murtech.com is in the description box below. I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. Here's a video from Dr. Steve Turley from Turley Clips. Here's a video from Chicks on the Right. Here's the video here from X22 Report, Big Pharma. Here's a video from Wendy Bell. And as I said, I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. This is your one-stop shop for information that you're not going to get from the mainstream media. Okay, it's a free site. I don't ask you to sign up for a newsletter. I don't drop cookies on your computer. I don't have a bunch of ads popping up in your face. I make no money off of this. My goal is to get the truth out to people, make it available to them. That's my goal. I'm not in this for the money. But, as I said, these 4 videos that I shared with you are videos that I've posted on Murtech.com. I have over 55 videos here. I don't have time to share all of them with you. But, about 9:30, I will start my daily news wrap-up. Right now, I have over 90 videos in my playlist of information that's dropped all day long. Okay? So, I'm going to go ahead and take a break. You take a break, grab a donut, a cup of coffee, grab a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, and come back and join me at 9:30, and we'll get this started. I'll go ahead and update my playlist for the last hour or so while I've been online and get my Rumble Studio set up for my live stream. So come back at 9:30. In the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.